Hey guys, this is Dr. Berg. I have a really interesting interview today with Tiffany Roth, and I heard about her from several my clients, and I just wanted to interview you. You're from California, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's interesting. She's an attorney, but then she taught classes in Mexico on fitness, and now she does a lot of things online. And I just wanted to kind of pick your brain because one thing I don't focus as much on is exercise. So I really wanted to kind of find out from you, especially with females, like what to do to improve the workouts. So would you mind asking you some questions about that?
Oh, absolutely. I love
Okay,
it. I
good.
love talking about working out.
Yeah. So I guess you were when you were a kid, you were kind of chubby, right? I heard from the grapevine. You weren't in really good shape.
Okay, you want to bring that up now?
Okay, sorry.
So, yeah, when I was little, I think that one of the things is that, my family really didn't know how to focus on healthy eating and exercise. So, I was kind of eating the foods that my mom was eating, and I wasn't getting the proper exercise, and my body had that result. I don't think,
Where were you raised as a child?
where was I raised?
Yeah.
In California.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah,
So it wasn't.
I'm LA
I
native.
think people assume when you're in California that it's all health foods, but it's probably similar to the Midwest where I was raised. It's probably the same meat and potatoes, but I don't know.
Well, I think right now, over the last 20 years, as a community in general, we've gotten a lot more access to information about how to eat healthy and how to exercise than existed in the past. I mean, it's sort of something that's been developing over time, especially with, the internet. We can get the message out there a lot quicker about how to be healthy or how to do great workouts. Back then, it was sort of like you just go on a diet and you eat grapefruit. I remember my mom was doing the pineapple diet, where she ate pineapple for 3 days. So I ate pineapple for 3 days, and you lose weight, but it's not sustainable. So
I know. I
I
know.
think it's just really the knowledge that we have in this day and age allows us to make better choices when it comes to food and exercises that really wasn't available back then, at least to my mom.
No, I think I actually practiced in San Diego for a while, next to the Charger Stadium. When I graduated, I wanted to move where I wanted to live, so I moved to Washington State because it's so beautiful, but it rained every day. So I just couldn't take it. It was beautiful, but it just too much rain. So then I decided let's move to San Diego. So went there, and I'm like, wow, this is so beautiful. This is great. But all my family, because I met my wife there, and then all my family lived on the East Coast. And her family, so we moved to Virginia. But I think it's a great place to live on the West Coast. But so here's some questions I want to get into. Now, with your clients that you work with, what's kind of like the top mistakes that people are making when they're working out? Like, what are they always doing wrong when they're doing it by themselves?
Okay. Well, first I'm going to start with one of the three things that I say, not one of the three things, three of the most important things that what I call the three prongs of fitness, and that's constant and consistent commitment. So the first thing I want to tell anybody who wants to get in shape is that you have to be committed and you can't give up. And the reason why a lot of people give up is because either it comes too hard, or maybe they get injured, or when they're doing the workouts, they're not feeling the way they want to feel. So some of the tips that I would like to provide would be on how to breathe correctly, how to work out so that you're not getting injured, and how to check your body alignment in the mirror to make sure that you're getting the results that you set out to achieve.
Okay, so let's talk
All
about
right?
breathing first.
Okay, breathing.
So
Typical mistake. Here we go.
isn't it okay to can't we just hold our breath? No.
The typical mistake is this. People are working out, right? They're doing it, and the harder it gets, the less they start to breathe, okay? So I do, and like when I'm teaching class, if it's a cardio class, I do an 8 count. And I do the 8 count. It's really like sort of check. It's almost like a call and response. I'll say 8, and then count down with me. 8, 7, 6, 5. That way I know that they are breathing, because one of the most important things that our body needs for movement is breath. We have to connect the breath with the movement to get actually the power that you need to continue. So I do, when you're doing your cardiovascular, make sure that you do what's called a talk test. You should be able to say 1 or 2 or 3 words while you're doing your cardio. If you're not, then your breathing is off. You need to take it down a little bit so you can say, yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I got this, or something
Good.
like that, or count.
So let me interject right there. So let's say, for example, and I just want to know your philosophy on this. You put someone through a workout and they do a certain set, right? They're doing a certain set. I mean, we're not talking about like aerobics. We're talking about like a set of maybe some plyometrics or push-ups or whatever, right? And then they're going to rest for a period of time. Do you have any rule of thumb of how long a person rests versus the time they're exercising? Because I know there's a lot of variation there.
Okay. Well, it depends on how you're training and what you're training for. Okay. If you are training to build muscle, then you need more rest in between your sets, because you want to actually maximize your output per exercise. So I would tell, like, some of my girls that really want to build their leg muscles, or what's really hot is like to build up your butt right now. If you're doing heavy squats, if you're working out with heavier weight, then you would need like at least 45 seconds to 1 minute rest in between sets to allow your muscles to recover and, be able to go back and maximize the benefit out of the exercise. You don't want to exercise when you're tired. You want to exercise when your body feels exhilarated and strong. If you want to tone your body, then I shorten that rest. I shorten that rest because I like to focus on muscle confusion, and I'll do back-to-back sets. For example, if you just want to tone your legs, then you might do lunges, then you do squats, and then you do what I call rocket squats, and I'll put them back-to-back, boom, 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 to build that muscle endurance. When you build your muscle endurance, you actually have more lean, long muscles, and they are able to go for a longer period of time, but they don't deliver the maximum amount of power as if you were trying to build like a stronger, hardier muscle shape.
I think that brings up a really important point on, you have the person with the belly fat, right? Women don't like belly fat. For some reason, they don't like it. And then you have the fat in the lower part of the legs.
Right.
So here's what I found. You can actually flatten the stomach a lot faster if you actually address the diet in a unique way. And I'm going to give you a couple tips on that for your viewers too, if you want to share this. But the lower extremity, the legs, you're not going to get the fat off the legs unless you use exercise, because a lot of these women, especially, you probably work with menopausal women, the ratio of fat to muscle is like way off. Like they lost so much muscle tone, and you have them try to do a squat and they just can't do it. So you have to build up that muscle, and that could take literally a few years of workouts. So as you lose the muscle, as you gain the muscle, you may not lose weight because it's heavier, of course, but also there's going to be probably weeks that you're going to plateau, and then you're going to have to just realize it's going to take some time because you're healing the body. So, and I don't know if you saw this on my website, but my whole philosophy is get healthy, then lose weight, versus trying to lose weight to get healthy. It's a simple thing, but it's like really powerful.
Yeah, I really am intrigued by your whole philosophy, and I think that it's really vital for people to understand how your gut health and your nutritional intake is so important in getting the results that you want. And I love how you focus on the different body types. That to me is wonderful, because if you have someone that really has skinny legs, they could care less about doing the legs. They really just want to work on their bellies. It would take a very, very, very long time before they were able to work out and get rid of all that by just doing exercise alone. You have to change your diet. And your philosophy on food is something that I really want to align with, because I think that it's powerful and it creates awesome results. So what are some of the tips that you give, even to some of my followers, that could help them get a healthy gut and see better and quicker results in the abdominal area?
Well, there's one thing that's probably the most important. It's like the common thread with pretty much 80% of all the problems. I'm talking like body problems and weight problems. You ready for this? Are you sitting down?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. It really has to do with high levels of insulin. But here's the thing: insulin has a lot of different functions, but insulin has two really, really important functions that people need to realize. Number one, it's the hormone that converts everything to fat. It's a fat-making hormone, number one. Number two, it prevents the loss of fat. So let's say you're eating good and you're exercising 6 hours a day, whatever. Like I had one patient who was working out 6 hours a day, but they weren't losing anything, right? Or they have a stuck metabolism. It's like totally frozen. They can't get below that set point. It's high levels of insulin. But when you go to the doctor, they check the glucose. They don't check the insulin. Whoops. If they did, they would find the insulin is going to be too high. And what people realize is what they don't realize is how to lower insulin.
Right.
You can actually, you can help someone like losing weight way more by addressing that than exercise. Exercise will help, but if you actually address the insulin, you'll really, really drop down the weight a lot faster. You get leaner, you get stronger, really, really fast. So that's like the most important thing you need to kind of focus on if you're trying to get lean body mass, if you're trying to fix your metabolism, is lower insulin. So then I have
How do you do that? How do you do that?
So do you have any idea right now what you would do to lower insulin? Do you have any ideas? I'm just asking before I tell you.
Okay. Well, I would say number one is to reduce your sugar intake and your simple carbohydrates.
Good. Yes, that's number one. So you want to reduce your carbs, the ones that turn into sugar really fast. So that would be all the breads, pasta, cereal, crackers, biscuits, waffles, pancakes, muffins, sodas, juice, those.
Right.
And then you'd have alcohol. But then you also have a lot of the hidden carbs as well, like fruit. I'm sorry. So because what happens, fruit is.
Don't say fruit, not the. I love fruit.
Sorry, but fruit. What fruit will do is it doesn't actually address the blood sugars directly because it's fructose. It actually has a different pathway, and it throws you off through the liver. So it will eventually affect the insulin, but not directly. So people say, "Oh yeah, it doesn't affect the blood sugars." Yes, it does indirectly. But so we have that, right? But that's like half of the answer. So people on a low carb diet, they might be successful somewhat, but they're not 100% successful because there's something else that's equally as important. Do you want to know about this?
Yes, I'm on the edge of my seat. Tell me.
Okay. It has to do with every time you eat anything, you raise insulin. So it's the frequency of meals. The frequency of meals. So I used to promote and push in my old book, oh yeah, you need to consume 6 meals a day, 3 meals with snacks, right? Bad advice. That was very bad. Because every time you eat, you spike insulin.
Yeah.
Even if it's healthy. So with myself, I was eating apples and peanut butter as the afternoon snack. And then at night, I would have nuts, right? And I got up to like 211 pounds. So then I went back to Guyton's physiology. I'm studying this. I'm like, what the heck? I missed this one point about the food increases insulin. So then I started looking at, okay, let's do intermittent fasting, eating less frequent. So we went 3 meals, no snacks, and then 2 meals a day. And that's kind of where I'm staying right now. But you can drop insulin so nicely and fix so many problems by cutting out the snacks. It's insane.
So yeah, that whole thing about snacks was really like based on the information that after you're going to spike your metabolism up. You can spike your metabolism up with protein, which will help your muscles sort of be more sustainable, and you will keep your body from feeding on its own tissue.
Okay, so let me just bring up that one point, because here's another piece of false data where you're eating protein to spike your metabolism. Okay, so really let's define what that thought would mean. It's basically you eating protein will stimulate a hormone that can trigger your metabolism. But if your metabolism is slow, you're just going to spike insulin. So So this idea that eating stimulates metabolism is false data. It actually slows the metabolism because it increases insulin.
Mm. So tell me, so for example, how would eating a piece of chicken increase your insulin? Just like for someone who's out there like, I want to have my chicken.
Because protein, there's two types of macro foods that stimulate insulin. One is carbs and the other one is protein.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's lean protein.
Mm.
So the chicken breast, everyone's like low fat protein, low fat protein.
Yeah.
No. Because really, if you want to keep insulin low, you want to go more fat. Fat is the food that will be neutral with insulin.
Can you explain why?
Yeah, because our bodies, one of the functions is insulin actually helps you build muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So when you eat an amino acid from protein, your body will increase insulin to try to put that to muscle. So, we need protein for sure, and you want to keep eating protein, but you don't want to do excessive amounts of protein. Like a lot of bodybuilders and stuff, they have tons of protein because that's going to make you. Eventually, you're going to actually stimulate some insulin. You're going to get tired after you eat. You're going to want to take a nap. That's high insulin. And then what happens when the insulin goes high, you develop insulin resistance, and then you urinate in the middle of the night more than once, or once or more. You shouldn't do that. You get tired after you eat.
That's really interesting. I'm going to have to interrupt you there. I know someone who has that problem with frequent urination. And this is something that's really going to help her and probably a lot of other women out there that, it's the insulin. That's interesting. I've never heard of that before.
It's fascinating. Insulin, you have vision problems. Your vision starts going. Brain fog. Lack of focus.
Yes.
Irritability. Low tolerance to stress. This is all a blood sugar problem. So
what are you recommending though? You're saying 2 meals a day?
Well, no, I have a little mini course that I put everyone through first. It's a free little course online at my website. You basically, there's like 4 videos. Get the basics to learn how to do this, but you start with 3 meals, no snacks.
Okay.
And the problem is some people can't go from one meal to the next because they're so hungry, so you add more fat to the meal.
Okay.
And then what happens is that
it's slow burning. It's more slow burning, right?
Well, it just buffers the insulin spike.
Okay.
So then it's more satisfying versus the low fat protein. So then what happens, you do that for a while until your body starts adapting. And then it's starting adapting to burning in fat. So you're actually burning fat at this point. When you burn fat, it's a much cleaner fuel. You have more energy. You'll have less blood sugar issues. Then in the morning when you wake up, you're not going to be hungry. So then you start pushing your breakfast further and further towards the lunch until eventually you don't have any more breakfast. That's how you do it. You do it gradually so it's comfortable.
So you're recommending lunch and dinner